We are talking polling this morning. The Beacon Center of Tennessee has a new poll out this week. Some perspective before we dive into the head-to-head matchups for president. Don's looking at the numbers now. In this head-to-head matchup last time in the state of Tennessee, Donald Trump won 60-37 over Biden. So let's drop the first head-to-head matchup that we have as far as the graphic and show you again. It's 55% for Donald Trump, Joe Biden 34% right now. Mark Cunningham of the Beacon Center is with us. What do you make of that disparity from what we saw in the past election to compared to now?
Yeah, well, it seems like Trump has dropped off a little bit in the state. I mean, you have a lot of issues that have come up with him. And when we look at the indictment question later, that's probably the best guess to why Trump is maybe not as strong as he was in the state 4 years ago. And again, 8 years ago, he won by 26. So it seems as if he's kind of going down a little bit year by year in the state. One
of the biggest surprise, Mark, and this is one I want our panel to talk about, is the head-to-head matchup against Ron DeSantis. Because this one raised some eyebrows. If we can show those numbers right now. And Mark, just talk us through what you found in the results here with DeSantis showing at 52% and Joe Biden 36%.
Yeah, this was kind of a shocking result. And if you look at the sample size in the two graphics, you'll see exactly why it is like it is. Ultimately, there was 13% of Trump voters who said, I would vote for Trump, but I would not vote at all if DeSantis were the nominee. Among moderates and among, people on the right is exactly the same. But it was Republicans who said, I'm a Trump or nothing. Kind of, we've heard about the never Trumper. This seems like a group of people that are only Trumpers. And, that this is in a deep red state like Tennessee. It's more likely to happen here than somewhere like, say, Wisconsin.
Eddie, your thoughts on the head-to-head?
And again, I think people are reacting out of emotion right now. I don't think anybody's going to sit out the next election. Everything in the country is way too energized. People are going to go vote. So the people who say it's Trump or nothing, they're going to go vote. We see it time and time again. It's just what their preference is right now. But the number that was most surprising in both of those polls was the fact that Biden was only winning the 35 to 45 age group. He was losing every other age group in both against Trump and DeSantis. So I think that was something that should worry the Democrats.
Well, one of the comments I'll make is when you looked at the number of younger voters that actually participated in the poll, it was very low. So the question is, will that younger number become energized again like we first saw it under Obama and then saw it to a degree with Biden? Will we see that energized? It's still not going to carry the day in Tennessee. We can have 3 times the number of younger voters, and I think we'll still be a red state when it comes to national politics.
And I think you're right, but I think what's interesting about this, unlike when Barack Obama ran, is the fact that you've got 2 people running that are nearing 80. Neither one of those can really energize that 18 to 34-year-old demographic the way that President Obama was able to energize the younger voters.
But issues will drive younger voters on occasion as well, as we've seen through the Dobbs decision.
Let me just point this out as we move on, John. You have paperwork in front of you. Yeah. We all have it in front of us. These crosstabs, as they're known, are available, and that's what Mark made available through the Beacon Center. You can go right now and look at the same exact numbers that we're looking at. John, let's move on to education, because this is another one where the Beacon Center and their pollster asked a couple of specific questions.
Yeah, this was an interesting question, and this may be one, certainly, when I was looking at it, we got sort of an embargoed copy. I was like, oh, really? This sort of surprised me. Mark, I'm interested to have you chime in on this. The question may have something to do with the responses, but certainly we saw broad support, not just from Republicans, apparently, in this poll, but also from Democrats in response to the idea of education savings accounts, not just in sort of the petri dish counties that we've seen them in, but statewide. I'm curious about what sort of may have rung that bell, and then we also see the numbers with charter schools also appearing pretty strong. We know that that's been something that has sort of resonated with Republicans. It did surprise me that we would have such strong support from Democrats. Your thoughts?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it surprised me too. As somebody who's for educational choice, it was a really shocking result, and a lot of it came down to the non-white minorities. When you look at that, that was over 70% on both them, and many of them tend to vote Democratic if you look through the poll. Secondarily, the interesting fact that kind of goes with this is that only 36% of Tennesseans are happy with the K-12 education. Even a plurality of Democrats right now, 49 to 48, say that they are not happy with the K-12 public education. So they're looking for other options, and we made sure to say exactly what these were so people understood what they were voting on. And we mentioned that even education savings accounts, that could be for private school. So we made sure to ask the questions, and I mean, honestly, that number is shocking. And at this point, if you're not for educational choice, you are on a fringe part of the state. And they always say that politicians are a lagging indicator. If that's the case, you better watch out for next session, because this poll is going to resonate in the halls of Tennessee, I believe.
One suggestion that I might have, and this is just as I'm listening to you talk, is that you revisit that question maybe with the next quarterly poll, and maybe even take it and sort of, it's your poll, it's not my poll, but I'd like to know more about that, and I think there's more data to mine there.
And let me just build on that, Mark, because one criticism I heard from a couple of polling experts was on the wording of one question in particular, and I just want to get your take on it. We're putting it up for our viewers now, and it says, under Tennessee's existing education savings accounts program, families of eligible K through 12 students can use a portion of their per pupil funding on certain educational expenses, such as private school tutoring, education therapy, or other educational purposes. The program already exists in some counties. Would you support or oppose expanding this program to all counties in Tennessee? Here's the criticism. Some experts say that's a double-barreled question, because you're not asking specifically, do you support this or do you support that? People would focus more on, hey, if other counties have it, we want it too. What do you make of that criticism?
Well, ultimately, the question comes down to what's going to actually happen in the legislature. It's already in those counties. So explaining what it is, again, we made sure to put private education so people clearly understood what they were doing. And, ultimately, we're not asking whether they like ESAs or don't. They're asking whether they want it expanded to their county. So, from the legislative perspective of what is actually going to be probably up in the legislature next year, this question, I think, made the most sense and was worded in a fair way. And to be clear, we also asked, a ton of people on both sides of this issue just to make sure they felt that question was worded correctly, and most of the feedback was very positive, say, before the results came in, that is a fair way to ask the question.
All right, we're going to take another quick break on Inside Tennessee, get our panel back into this. Mark, thank you for hanging with us. We'll be back with more of Inside Tennessee right after this.